Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So, taking a fun and exciting video for you guys today because we're doing an update on the Castlevania Symphony of the Night decompilation project. That is because I've been getting a lot of questions from people on the channel and on Discord and Twitter asking to talk about this one more time. I thought to myself, but I just recently talked about it, so why would you guys want an update? Then I looked at the actual upload of the last video and it was July of 2025. So somehow over half a year went by and it kind of just felt like a month to me. So it's big decomp energy time here with Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And to say that I, myself, as well as basically everyone else out there is absolutely hyped for the idea of a full decompilation of one of the greatest video games ever made in 2D or 3D would be an understatement. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But honestly, this is probably my #1 game that I want to see get 100% decompiled, not just for a potential PC port in the future, but to kind of take a look behind the game code and see if there's anything else hiding in Symphony of the Night. And the last time that I took a look at this versus today, there have been a lot of upgrades, a lot of improvements, and a lot of new code committed to GitHub. And basically the last time I talked about the decomp, Maria wasn't even playable, and I did a video showcasing that. That's part and parcel, part of this entire project. And the great part is it isn't just based on the PlayStation 1 version of the game, it's also based on the unreleased PS1 build on Dracula X Chronicles, as well as the Sega Saturn port. As I've said in many previous videos before, the Sega Saturn version of the game is technically my preferred version, even if it is inferior, just because we get more areas as well as Maria Renard as a playable character. So now that Maria is playable in Symphony of the Night on PlayStation 1, it is a ton of fun, but honestly, it's not exactly the same mode as you get in the Saturn version. So in a perfect world in the future, when all of these things were decompiled, developers could go in there and basically make the absolute quintessential ultimate version of Symphony of the Night, using the PlayStation 1 engine and overall aspect ratio of the graphics, as well as putting in Maria from the Saturn version and all the other hidden areas. Because if you're not aware, when they ported this to Saturn, they actually changed the resolution, so some of the pixels are non-square and it doesn't look quite as good. I live with it because I love the Saturn version of the game, but imagine everything that the Saturn version added in the PlayStation 1 aspect ratio and resolution, and then you would have basically what amounts to the perfect version. So you'll see here, as of recording of this video, it's 31.59% decompiled, so we'll round up and say 32%. And I know 32% doesn't sound like a lot, but the amount of complex systems in this game and just how much actually has to be done is an understatement. That is impressive in and of itself. And sometimes those percentages aren't exactly accurate either, because maybe they just haven't posted with GitHub updates, or maybe they've got a batch of code that they just haven't uploaded yet. And just so you know, I do make these things in advance, so it's possible it's higher than 32% at this point in time. But that is still a major milestone, and that is why Maria was made to be able to be playable in the PlayStation 1 version in the first place. And that's just definitely something that absolutely makes me so happy. I would love to see this game on PC any day of the week and twice on Sundays. And you'll see here, if you haven't played around with it yet, the mods are available for Maria in the PlayStation version of the game, but it uses the PlayStation portable version of Maria, not technically the Saturn version, so it is slightly a different experience. But again, that's why, and again, I'm just basically creating this out of my own imagination. Would love to see some sort of PC port where you have every option toggleable. You want to play the PlayStation 1 version with Saturn Maria? Go ahead. You want to play the PlayStation 1 version with Maria from PSP? Go ahead. You want to play the Saturn build with corrected aspect ratios? Maybe that would work as well. It would be fun to just kind of have a mix and match setup, the best of every version of Symphony of the Night, or Nocturne in the Moonlight as it was referred to in Saturn, available at your fingertips. Now don't think that that's going to happen in 3 months, 6 months, or even a year. This seems like a very long-term project, and again, like I say in every video, the people decompiling the project may never actually make a PC port. That may come down to another team. But getting this thing to 100% status would open up the floodgates to more Castlevania Symphony of the Night mods and ports than you could possibly ever imagine. And considering this is definitely in my top 5 favorite games of all time, that is absolutely something I would love to see happen. And you'll see here the last update was actually a music update, which is the perfect way for me to segue into our first soundtrack sample. Enjoy! Hands down, in my opinion, the best piece of music ever made for the Castlevania franchise, but leave me a comment down below and you tell me favorite track from a Castlevania game. But honestly, I would love to see so much more with this too, because we just got the ultimate 1.1 version of Symphony of the Night on the Sega Saturn that plays around with a lot of different modifications to make the game run better and also bring back the PlayStation 1 voices versus the PSP voices that were in the ultimate version 1.0. All of that could be stuff that you could play around with in a potential PC port if this thing did get fully decompiled. So we're going into a audio sample here. Some of the voice acting from the PlayStation 1 version, absolutely iconic, but come back because I got a lot more technical details about the decomp to share with you guys. But enjoy.
Tribute? You steal men's souls and make them your slaves.
Perhaps the same could be said of all religions.
Your words are as empty as your soul. Mankind ill needs a savior such as you.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk. Have at you!
I mean, honestly, those are some of the most iconic voice lines you're ever going to hear in any video game. If we take a look at the bin decomp progress right now, you're going to see that the actual shared libraries are at about 99.61 and 98.26. Those were in the 80s the last time I took a look at them. You'll see here for some of the levels as well, you're going to see 100% across the board, including the long library. And when you see these headings, that really is everything needed to run this stage being decompiled. Every single bin is going to be something different, and they all need to be 100% decompiled to actually do anything with in the future. Sure, you can play around with some stuff before you hit 100% status. That is again why we have the PSP version of Maria and Symphony of the Night on PlayStation 1. But there is still a long road to go ahead, and that is just kind of the fun part about this. If you're not aware, decompiling these things is not easy. A lot of times it's done by complete hand with Ghidra or another decompiler, so you can basically try to understand exactly how things work and what they would have looked like before they were compiled onto the disc. And I know this is a little bit technical, but if you're not aware, source code when compiled for an executable no longer contains the source code, it only has the compiled version of the game. So it's not like you can just grab the source code from the disk and go ahead and play around with it. It would have been great, decades upon decades ago if that became the de facto norm to just run source code, but that's just not how computers work. That is why when you hear about companies actually losing the source code of their own games, it is a disaster, because if they don't have it, then nobody does whatsoever. And just kind of playing around with different versions of the Saturn game here, that would be the fun part. Imagine the Saturn version with none of the dithering effects that you have to deal with on the actual Saturn, getting Maria in PlayStation 1 with all the extra levels, but then removing all of the dithering. If we take a look at the heat map here, there's a lot of stuff that hasn't really been touched much whatsoever, but you'll just see how many different modules and components of the game really need to be played around with and decompiled just for anything to work. You're going to see here on Fairy, this is just going to be the Fairy Familiar, and everything that character can do is 100% decompiled. Use the Life Apple, use a hammer, use Anti-Venom, use Uncurse. These are all different pieces of code that would have been written at Konami back in the day in the 90s that have been 100% decompiled. So if you wanted to do anything about the behavior of the fairy, you have the source code now to be able to do so, and that's always a fun time. But I'm going to do one more soundtrack sample because, again, I love the music in this game, and I think you do too. Don't forget to leave me that comment though, telling me what your favorite Symphony of the Night track is, because, again, I love talking about the music. But here it comes, and I'll be right back with more. So if you want to take a deeper dive into the decompilation project, I will leave a link in the description below to the GitHub page, which also has a link to the development website where you can track all of the different decomp statuses on every single bin across time. Like the Fairy Familiar that we just talked about in the heat map, you can see it here in chart form, and that is a really nice bonus if you actually want to take a look at how the sausage gets made. But honestly, this is going to be incredible, and I'm going to definitely do another update video in about 6 months or so just to see where this is going, because we already have Maria in PlayStation Portable form in PlayStation 1, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot more along for the ride. But I'm definitely still excited as hell about the decomp of Symphony of the Night, and I hope in the future there's some sort of Master Ultimate Super Turbo version of this game that just basically combines everything together in any way you want, along with some randomizers, different modifications. It would be a great platform to do so much with a game that we've been playing for 3 decades. decades and still haven't gotten bored of yet. Be sure to that if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and you tell me like I ask every video. If you could snap your fingers and make one game appear as a PC port with all the options today, which one would you pick? I think it's pretty obvious that I picked, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.